Hello everybody. Thank you for joining me today. Today I am going to do the first of a new series where I'm going to talk about all the different places that I've traveled in the last 4 years, and I'm going to specify each video. Each video is going to be specifically focused on one particular place. So today we are going to go back all the way 4 years ago to Hawaii. So I've been a digital nomad for 4 years now, which means that I've been traveling around the world and working online. And all of this journey started and was inspired by my very first solo trip to Hawaii. So actually, I've been to Hawaii on 3 separate occasions. The first time was August of 2018. This is back when I was working in a commercial gym back in Canada, and I had never gone traveling alone before, but I had always dreamed about it and thought about it. In fact, actually, previously I had planned to go to Australia, and I actually had a visa purchased and I never ended up going. And so travel has always been in my mind. And I actually had a list of places that I wanted to travel to before I turned 30, which I'm going to make sure that I accomplish. I still have about 4 years left. But yeah, so traveling had always been something that I really wanted to do. And I had been working really hard for that year. It was my first year being a personal trainer, and I was very successful in my first year. And it was the first time in my life where I was making a decent amount of money. So I was like, you know what? My birthday's coming up. My birthday is August 9th, and I was turning 22. So I had decided that I was going to go on a vacation to Hawaii. And actually, at the time, I was planning this trip together with my friend, Alev, and we were planning everything out. We were gonna we're gonna spend half the time in Oahu and then half the time in Kauai. Well, it turns out me and her ended up having a really big fight before going, and I ended up just going by myself. So this ended up being my first solo trip ever, and it really sparked something inside of me. I believe that everything happens for a reason, and I believe that me and her had that fight for a reason. I needed to have a solo trip, and I needed to know what it feels like to just go and travel by myself. And it was the beginning of this journey of self-discovery and awakening and getting to know myself, you know? So that was the first time. And the second time I went to Hawaii was about a month later. It was September 2018. So like I said, that trip really inspired me to change the way that I thought about training, the way I thought about living, and it really opened up my mind to the idea that, hey, I can be a nomad and I can do online training. Sorry, I have a flu right now, so pardon me if I'm coughing every once in a while. But so I remember this one moment when I was packing up my stuff to head back to Vancouver, and I was just thinking to myself, you know what if I just didn't go back home and I just kept on traveling? And I was so close to doing it, but I still had my flight already booked, and I had my job back home, and I had everything back home, so I wasn't ready for it yet. But that month after I went back home, I just spent the whole time planning on how I was going to make this happen, how I was going to become a digital nomad, and I was slowly getting my business together. So a month later, I set off on my big journey to go and become a digital nomad, and the first place I went back to was Hawaii, of course, because actually I was on my way to Australia, and the flights from Hawaii to Australia were actually super cheap at the time with Jetstar. Ooh. And I was there so the first time I was there 10 days, second time I was there 7 days, and then the third time, we go forward 2 years. This is 2020. I was there for 2 months in January and February, and once again, it was a stopover towards Australia. And I actually was supposed to be in Hawaii for the 2 months with my ex, but it turns out that it's funny, you know, a lot of times there's a theme to this story. Me and him had a really big fight, and he ended up going back home to stay with his dad in North Carolina for 8 weeks, and then he came back, and we went to Australia. We met in Australia, but I ended up being alone in Hawaii for those 2 months. So it turns out that, you know, I think that maybe I was meant to be alone in Hawaii each time, because it was really a big growing experience every time I was in Hawaii, and I love the island. But anyways, so Alright guys, sorry, my video got cut off and it started raining, so I had to come back down here. And Shaq is here now, you can say hi. This is my fur son. I got him from Turkey. I'll tell you guys the story in the episode where I talk about Denise. Oh, thank you for the kisses, baby. Okay, so let's start off by I'm gonna break down each and every section of Oahu that I've been to. Well, not that I've been to, the different sections. I'm gonna break it down into the Waikiki, the North Shore, the East Side, and the West Side. So let's start off by talking about Waikiki. So when you think of Hawaii, you probably think of Waikiki at first. Waikiki is the most touristy. It is very popular around the world. I'm sure that when people think of the word Hawaii, the first thing they hear is Waikiki. But obviously there's a lot more to Hawaii. So it's obviously going to be more expensive than the other areas because of the touristy vibe to it. But that's how it is when you go to a touristy place. But the great thing about Waikiki is that the weather is always great. So I remember once I was talking to this Uber driver, and we were driving from Salt Lake, which was an Airbnb that I was staying at the time, and we're driving into Waikiki. And he was telling me how a lot of times the weather will be kind of crappy in other parts of Honolulu. It will be cloudy, it'll be rainy, but the moment you drive into Waikiki, the sky is a clear blue, the sun is shining. So Waikiki definitely is known for their great weather, and I definitely can agree with that. And Waikiki Beach is a great beach. It is calm and clear. For the most part, there's many places that you can swim and just relax. Like, it's one of those beaches where you can buy those floaties. I actually was traveling with a floaty that I had from Hawaii for the longest time, like one of those little blow-up beds, and you just lie there and just enjoy the waves. And there's not much of a current, so you can just chill. You know, with other beaches, you can't really do that if there's a lot of waves. What else? So there are also are places where you can rent paddle boards or these little pedal boats or like little kayaks. I don't like those little pedal boats. I feel like I feel like you're like and just moving really slowly. I'd rather get a paddle board or something, you know? And I've rented paddle boards there before. And there's this one part that's further down past where all the resorts are. It's near there's a statue near. I forgot what the statue is. The Duke statue. I believe it's Duke. But there's an area with lots and lots of fish and coral to snorkel, and I definitely recommend going to that part. I'll try to insert Google Maps here and show you exactly where on the maps it is. But I remember once I was snorkeling there, and there were so many fish. It was so beautiful, and I was like snorkeling near the pier, right? And then these people on the pier were throwing food towards the fish, and they were like purposely throwing it to where I was. And it like the fish were like scurrying like in front of my face like crazy, but they were nibbling at the food, and like they almost bit my face. It was like, wow, what's going on? So yeah, just beware of that. There might be people feeding them around you. And also, even in that area where you can rent all the paddle boards and whatnot, you'll find turtles, you'll find stingrays, you'll find all kinds of fish and beautiful things, if you're lucky. Well, if you're blessed. I don't believe in luck, but if you're blessed. What else? They also have hula dancing shows in Waikiki, which is nice to see, and there's different street performers, fire dancers, whatever, things like that. And every Friday night in Waikiki, there are fireworks at the Hilton. Oh, my cat is attacking me. Okay, get on the bed. There are fireworks every Friday night at the Hilton, and those fireworks are great. So I recommend you arrive early. I don't remember what time they're at, but you can look that up. And it's a great way to enjoy your Friday evening. So I also have been to a yoga class in Waikiki on the beach, so that's something beautiful that you can do there as well. I don't remember the name of the class because it's been a while. And then also there is the Diamond Head hike. So that is not in Waikiki, it's a little bit further in Diamond Head, as the name suggests. But it is very, very beautiful. It's a very common hike. A lot of people do it, but it's popular for a reason because it has a beautiful, beautiful view. And I actually snuck past the part that says do not enter. Like, there's an area where everyone gathers around and looks, and then there's another pillbox that like no one goes to because you're not supposed to. But I went, and then it's funny because me going like set a trend because no one else was there, but I'm always the one not to follow the rules. I'm not recommending you do this, but I remember when I was on that pillbox, like so many more people started coming over. Not that many, but a handful. And then it was nice that they came over though, because there's this guy that took some pictures for me, and he actually took some really good pictures. So I'll insert them here for you. Okay, and in terms of food in Waikiki, Honolulu area, for each place, I'm going to talk to you guys about the food a little bit, well, at least for Waikiki and North Shore, and obviously specifically vegan food because I am a vegan. And so there is Down to Earth, which is a grocery store chain. They also have one on the east side in Kailua. I remember going there, but it's basically how Hot Food has their hot food bars and things. It's like that, but they have way more vegan options. Tons and tons. There's a lot of like different Filipino inspired dishes because a lot of the Hawaiian food is inspired by Filipinos. Well, because there are a lot of Filipinos living there, and Japanese as well. So their cuisine is very mixed. And there's like vegan musubi, tons of different vegan options. And also like if you want specialty vegan ingredients for cooking, that's where you want to find them for sure. So in terms of when you're in Waikiki, the Barefoot Beach Cafe and Queen's Surf, this is near that spot that I was just telling you guys about where all the snorkeling is by that pier in Waikiki. And it's a really great restaurant because it's outdoors. They have a handful of vegan options. They're not the most amazing vegan options, but they are good. And honestly, I go there for the vibes because it's an outdoor, nice restaurant. But it's not too fancy. It's a casual kind of place. You can sit down, do some work, and watch the beach at the same time. There's a couple times I sat there and had my lunch and I did my work and just stared at the waves. And then once I was done my work, I closed out my laptop and walked over to the beach and went for a snorkel. So that's the life when you're in Hawaii, really. Oh man, I love Hawaii. And then there's the Loving Hut, which is another restaurant that I believe it's still in Waikiki as well, but it's a little further out. It's not near the beach, but it is an all-vegan restaurant that is mainly Asian food, and it's really good Asian food. They have pho, spring rolls, vegan chicken wings, things like that. Then there's Juicy Brew, which I've never been to myself, but I want to mention it because I've heard many other people mention it, and I planned on going when I was there, but I never ended up going. But it's definitely a really good place. And next is Salt and Pepper Cafe. This, I think it was near Ala Moana, so it's still in Honolulu, but not in Waikiki. And this place was interesting because they have a whole separate vegan menu, and it was a large menu with many options, and we were so excited about all these options. And one of the options was the ube French toast, which was amazing, by the way. We ordered that and like the salad, which was also a really good salad. And we wanted to order one more thing just for us to share the three things together. And we were asking, okay, can we get the Loco Moco? And they're like, oh, we don't have it. And we're like, okay, can we get the mac and cheese? They're like, oh, we don't have it. And they're like, can we get this then? And they're like, we don't have it. And then we were like, okay, you guys keep on coming back to us and telling us that you don't have anything on your menu, which obviously is frustrating when you're going to a restaurant. But we ended up just ordering another ube French toast. And to be honest, the reason I'm still mentioning it in this video is because that ube French toast was worth it. If you're just going for the ube French toast, as long as they have that in stock, you be good, because it's delicious. It's so good. It's probably the best French toast I've actually had in my life, because ube is like one of my favorite types of desserts. I can't wait until the day I go to the Philippines and get to try the ube desserts that they make there. Oh, it's gonna be amazing. All right, let's move on to the North Shore. So the North Shore is a completely different vibe from Honolulu and Waikiki. The North Shore is got the aloha vibes. It's local, it's lush, it's beautiful, it's quieter, it's more tranquil. I love the North Shore. So in terms of beaches, there is Waimea Beach, which is the first beach that I ever went to when I was in the North Shore. I was staying in a place called Sharks Cove Rentals, which they rent out rooms, and it's actually a very nice, like kind of like big house that has many different rooms in it, and had a very nice kitchen and living room as well. But anyways, Waimea Beach, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous. So lush, like the beautiful green trees, beautiful sand, beautiful ocean. The vibes are unmatched. But the vibes, I would say I like the vibes better in the summer or in the fall. If you go in the winter, you're not going to be able to swim because the waves are going to be huge, like ginormous. They will take you down, and yeah, you might not make it out. So if you want to swim and you want to go to the North Shore, go in the summer or in the fall. Yeah, maybe early fall though. Later as the fall goes on, it probably gets worse. But yeah, make sure you just study the waves before you go in general. The other beaches, so there's Three Tables Beach, which is further down, and that beach is a beautiful beach for snorkeling. There are many fish to see there, many different types of fish. And the thing is, you have to be a bit of a stronger swimmer to snorkel there. Just be careful because it does get a little bit wavier at that beach, and it's a bit rocky as well. But like I said, obviously the waves are not going to be as bad if you go in the summer. And then if you aren't as experienced and you want to go somewhere snorkeling, Sharks Cove is a very, very popular spot for snorkeling. I personally like Three Tables Beach better because I like to be able to dive down and just see more, Sharks Cove, at least when I was there wasn't much water. I was basically just dunking my head into the water to look at the fish, but I would rather actually be able to swim and dive down with them and relax, Okay, so, and what else did I do there? Zip lining. Zip lining was a lot of fun. I did go on a zip lining trip there. I'll insert some of that footage. One ocean diving. So when I was in Oahu for the 2 months, the third time, my sister and my mom came and visited me for 10 days. I told them that what had happened with my ex and that I was alone there, and they were like, you know what, we want to come and visit you. So they came and visited me, and so with my sister, we went and did one ocean diving, shark snorkeling. So we got to snorkel with sharks, and it was the most amazing experience ever. I would do it again 100%. We were swimming with Galapagos sharks. And honestly, I've always been really fascinated with sharks, and this just fascinated me even more. Sharks are such a misunderstood creature. They are not this vicious, deadly... Excuse me. They're not this deadly, bloodthirsty animal that people make them out to be. Movies like Jaws really create this misconception about sharks, and I really, really want to educate people on the truth about sharks. They're not the way you think they are. Most of the time when they attack humans, it's by accident. They don't want to eat us because we don't actually taste good to them. We're not what they're meant to eat. They want to eat fish, not humans. Oh yeah, and also there's the world famous skydiving there as well. It's one of the most beautiful spots to skydive in the world. And actually the first time I was there, I was supposed to do the skydiving there. I was waiting there at the skydiving location on my birthday, and unfortunately because of the day before they had a hurricane, and I know a hurricane sounds like a big crazy natural disaster, but actually there are levels to hurricanes, and they have mild hurricanes there all the time, which basically end up just being storms. Which, when I think about it, wasn't even as bad as the storms that they have here in Mexico City. So, yeah, but because of that, there were a lot of clouds in the sky. So, the way that the location is for the skydiving there, if there are so many clouds and you don't see where you're landing, it's possible to end up landing in the ocean or the mountains by accident instead of the landing area, which obviously would be deadly. So, because the clouds didn't clear up, I didn't get to do the skydiving, which was unfortunate. But I definitely will go back one day to do it. In terms of hiking, so there's the Ihukai Pillbox hike. It's a pretty simple hike. It's not too intense, but it is beautiful. There are 2 different pillboxes to hike to. Actually, a lot of people, when they do this hike, they stop at the first pillbox because they don't know there's a second one. So if you arrive at the first pillbox, keep going and keep on hiking because you're going to make it to the second one. And I've done this one several times. Then there is the bonsai pipeline. Let me just blow my nose really quickly. Bonsai pipeline is a world famous pipeline. You've probably heard of it. There's the Billabong Pro Pipeline annual World Surf League competition is held there. And it's nice actually to just go chill at the bonsai pipeline and just watch all the surfers because they are professionals. They are so good. If you're first learning how to surf, obviously don't go there. But if you want to watch the pros, first head over to Bonsai Bowls, which, by the way, has the best acai in the world. When I was in Hawaii, I was eating acai bowls almost every single day because it's just so freaking delicious. And yeah, Bonsai Bowls has the best, hands down, acai bowls on the island in the world. Because obviously Hawaii has the best acai in the world. Then there is Sunrise Shack, which is another... Sorry, anyway, I'm not going to talk about that yet. That's the rest of the food. Also, I did go to a luau with my family, which is something that I wouldn't go to on my own, actually, because I don't... First of all, I don't do touristy things. I don't like doing things that a tourist would, because I don't consider myself a tourist, even though I travel around the world. I'm a traveler, not a tourist, and I don't know, tourism kind of makes me cringe sometimes, you know? This is one of those things that is a bit cringy as well, because, like, if you look at the history of Hawaii and, like, the real culture of Hawaiians, it's not around anymore, and it's not around because of the ugly history. And I'm going to talk about that in the end, but that's the part I didn't like about it. But I did do that. And then what I wanted to tell you about was my two friends that I met in Hawaii and how crazy it was. Their names are Paula and Emil, and they are from Germany. They were on a gap year traveling the world. And when I met them, they told me their plans to travel, and their plans were to go to Australia, and then Bali, and then Thailand. And my plans were also to go to Australia afterwards, and then Bali. And I wasn't planning on going to Thailand, but we literally aligned our plans. We were going to be in Melbourne at the same time. We were going to be in Bali at the same time. So I ended up making friends that I met in Hawaii, and then I met them again in Australia, and then I met them again in Bali, which is 3 different continents. So that was mind-blowing and amazing, and I'm very glad to have met them. So let's talk about the food in the North Shore. I already told you guys about Bonsai Bowls, you have to go. Then there's Sunrise Shack, which is another smoothie place, which is good, but obviously not as good as Bonsai Bowls. And then we have the Beatbox Cafe. So the next 3 are different places in Halewa. Halewa is the town that they have there in the North Shore. So the Beatbox Cafe is a vegan restaurant, and I've done some work there a few times and ate there, and it was pretty good. I think I had a breakfast sandwich or something like that. And then there's a Thai restaurant called Rajani Thai. That place has really good vegan options too, really good pineapple fried rice. I love pineapple fried rice. And then there's Island Vintage Coffee. I just want to mention, it's a coffee shop. But it's a good spot. I like to go there to sit and do some work and have like a bagel or a smoothie bowl, acai bowl, you know me. So yeah, that is it for North Shore. Now let's talk about the West Side. So the West Side is actually a little bit of the poorer side of the island. In certain areas, you'll see a lot of homeless people living in tents. Except there is one part where they have the Disney Aulani Resort. So obviously there is a wealthier area, like a little, like Kapolei, and that area where the resort is. But when you go to any other areas in the West Side, you'll see a little bit more of the poverty of Hawaii. And there's obviously going to be more crime where there's more poverty. So be careful if you're on that side. But so let's talk about Ewa Beach. Ewa Beach or Ewa Beach? I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Ewa Beach. It's basically mainly like a residential, like suburban area, but it is a little bit on to lower middle class. But there are some nice beaches there too. Not comparable to, well, the actual beach itself is not comparable to other beaches on the island. But if you want to go to the beach there, it's kind of like along people's houses, like there be everyone's backyard there, but it is a public beach, and the strip of sand is not that big there when you go to Ewa Beach. Then there's Makaha Beach. I love Makaha Beach. It's beautiful. There you have the mountains in the background, and then you have the ocean there, and you also can watch some really good surfers at Makaha Beach too. There are quite a few big waves there. I remember when I was there, yeah, the waves were pretty intense. But like I told you, I was there in the winter, so obviously there's ginormous waves in the winter. Electric Beach. Electric Beach, this is one place you have to go on the West Side. You have to. If you're a strong swimmer, that is. Even if you aren't, I would do it with a life jacket. So Electric Beach is a very interesting place because there's an electric plant there, hence the name. And the electric plant has water running through the electric plant, and then it goes back out into the ocean, and there's this like big tube in the middle of this one spot in the ocean where it's pumping out all of this warm water from the electric plant. And so this warm water attracts all of these fish and turtles, and so you're gonna find an abundance of fish and turtles there. So when you first arrive, you kind of have to look out and see where the bubbling is and find where that spot is and snorkel out to it and swim out there. But I had the most marvelous experience with the turtle. I will never forget this moment. I was snorkeling around there. I could snorkel for hours. I know a lot of people get tired snorkeling, but I was snorkeling for hours because I was just really just enjoying my time with all these fish. And when I'm in the ocean, I just feel so much more connected with my soul. And this turtle, this huge turtle, the Hawaiian turtles are big and they're beautiful. This turtle came right up to me, swam towards me. They tell you you're not supposed to be more than an arm's length, like you're not supposed to be too close to respect them, you know, which is actually, a lot of people don't respect this, and they're shoving their GoPros in the turtles' faces, and I don't feel happy to see this. But this turtle came right up to me. I kid you not, the turtle was right here, staring into my face, and I wasn't afraid at all because I could just see the kindness in the turtle's eyes, and I could see that that turtle just wanted to come and say hi to me. And I was just staring at it, and it was staring at me, and it was just a moment to remember. I didn't have my GoPro with me. I didn't have anything at the time. I didn't have anything to record, but I have those memories in my mind, and I'll never forget being face to face with a turtle like that. Hawaii is always going to have that one special place in my heart, especially because of this memory. Okay. So that's all I have to say about the west side. I don't have any food recommendations because I didn't really eat out anywhere on the west side. I'll give you more tips about how I like dealt with food and how to live a little cheaper when I'm in Hawaii, but most of the time I just packed my own lunches when I went out on trips and stuff like that, depending on the day. So I would just have my backpack with my lunch packed already, and so I don't really know much about the food on the west side. But okay, let's talk about the east side now. So the east side is the wealthier side, and so I'm going to talk about a few different areas and things that I've done there. So there's Waimanalo Beach, which is, I don't know, every time I've been there, and from what the people I've asked, it's known to be a super windy beach. Like, I've been there a couple times, and each time I went, it was like just crazy windy. But it is still a nice beach. And near Waimanalo Beach, there is the, what's the name of it? I wrote it down here, give me 1 second. It's a lighthouse trail. Its name is the, where is it? Makapu Point Lighthouse. So I'll insert a little bit of footage from there. That was a beautiful view. And so next I want to talk to you about Kailua. So Kailua is a beach town on the east side, and it has really, really nice vibes. Even if you just want to feel the vibe of the town, it's a really nice place to explore. Really nice energy in the air. There's another Down to Earth there. I remember I went there with my ex, and we got some lunch from Down to Earth and brought it with us to the beach. We had a beach day at Kalawa Beach, and Kalawa Beach is a beautiful beach. I loved Kalawa Beach too. And that day we went, it was a gorgeous day. I remember I got so burnt because we just arrived to Hawaii from Vancouver for 5 months, and Vancouver for 5 months was like, I mean, in the beginning we arrived in the summer, but we just like we came from the winter, and it was cold, and my skin was looking super white, and then all of a sudden I had all this sunshine on me and I burnt. So wear your sunscreen. That day I applied my sunscreen 3 times and I still burnt, but we spent all day at the beach that day, so it's understandable. And then, so there is, in Kailua, you can kayak to these islands. There's these 2 little islands, and I have some really, really interesting stories about kayaking to these islands. The first time I attempted to do it, I was by myself, and all my experience from kayaking is kayaking without much waves. I actually am a kayaking and canoeing instructor, funny enough, because I used to work in a summer camp in Canada. We would teach kids how to kayak and whatnot, but we never really launched the boats in waves because like there was no current where we'd launch the boats. Obviously, like we would do channel crossings, and during the channels, yes, there were waves, but we never launched into a place wavy. And so I'd always been taught to enter backwards into the water in a kayak, so that's how I was entering. the water there. But when you're entering into waves, you don't want to answer backwards, and I didn't know that. And when I was trying to enter the water, I actually have footage of all this. I'm going to find it and put it in here. I ended up flipping over with my phone. It's funny because they were going to give me a dry bag when I rented the kayak, but I told them I didn't need one because I had this box. It was like a dry box, but I didn't realize my phone didn't fit in it. So I didn't have anything cover my phone, and my phone ended up dunking into the water, and I lost my phone because... No, I didn't lose it. I still had it, but it didn't work anymore after that. It got drowned, unfortunately. But I still kayaked around. I kayaked down and back. I didn't go to the island that day. I think it was also that there wasn't much time. The kayak place was closing soon too. But I just kayaked down, just enjoyed a little paddle and came back. But the second time I went back to Hawaii, when I was with Paula and Emil, we went and did this together. And we were looking at the prices of renting the kayaks, and we were like, you know what? It's kind of pricey. We don't really want to pay this. Why don't we all share a paddleboard? So we would take turns having two people on the paddleboard and then one person swimming beside the paddleboard. And we had like two paddles with us, and it was a really fun time. And when we got to that little island, there are two islands, but we only went to one of them, I believe. It was a really fun time. It was a cute little island, and then we went all the way back, and it was very nice and relaxing, and you can kind of see the island from a different view when you're once you're on the little island. You know, you can look back at Oahu. And lastly, for the east side, there is Lanikai. So Lanikai pillbox hike. So in Hawaii, there's many pillbox hikes, and the pillboxes are basically all the way from World War II. Basically, they're little lookout points that they had for World War. And Hawaii, I don't know if you guys knew, but Oahu has one of the military bases for the U.S. military. So there's a lot of military influence there. And actually, one morning when I was staying in Salt Lake, because when I was staying in Salt Lake, I was very close to a military base. Sometimes in the morning, I'd hear like the trumpets playing and they're playing their songs or whatever that they do for the military. But after the pillbox hike is also beautiful, the Lanikai pillbox hike. I'll put a picture here. When I went, the weather wasn't the greatest, so I didn't get the best experience from there, but I've heard that the snorkeling there is very great. Unfortunately, the conditions were not snorkeling conditions when I was there, so I was just chilling on the beach. But just like with the west side, I don't really have much to say in terms of food. And now I'm just going to give you a few tips that I have for you to make Hawaii more affordable, because as you know, Hawaii is an inexpensive destination. And it is, I believe, the most expensive state in America. I remember seeing signs there when I was in the grocery stores and whatnot. So it's a struggle for some of them people who live there, for a lot of people who live there. And it's not a destination that most people think of as being very affordable. But I'm a nomad who loves to cut corners and find ways to make a place affordable, because I believe that any place can be affordable. It's just how you make it and how you live when you're there. You have to adjust certain things about the way that you live in order to make it work for you better. So no matter where I go, I always like to use Airbnb to have a kitchen in my own place. When I was there, I just rented rooms on Airbnb. Entire places were expensive there, but there was always a kitchen that I could use whenever I was renting out a room. I do know that the laws have changed in Hawaii for Airbnb, and it's a bit stricter now. So it might be a bit harder to find Airbnb than it was back then, but I know it's still around. It's just that they have to register to be able to be a legal Airbnb. And then in terms of transportation, if you drive, I would rent a car. My sister rented a car when my sister and mom were here. But what I did was I took transit. I don't have my license, so I bought one of those monthly bus passes. It's valid on the whole island, and it's $70 a month. And sometimes I did take an Uber whenever I wasn't able to Nah, when I felt like it, I would take Ubers every once in a while, but for the most part, I took the bus. And choose free activities like I was just telling you, in all these places there's hiking, there's snorkeling, there's exploring different beaches. You don't have to pay for any of these things, and you can literally swim with turtles and all these beautiful fish. And oh, I forgot to tell you, in Electric Beach there are dolphins, and there are a lot of them. And actually every time I would try to go and find them and swim with them, and I was in the water for like 2 hours, and once I got out and I was back in the beach, I could see the dolphins passing by. But there's so many magical experiences that you can have without spending money in Hawaii. And then so I would cook my meals. A lot of times I would cook bigger dinners, and then I would have leftovers to pack tomorrow for lunch. And if you, one more tip, because I did a class pass trial when I was there. I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's basically an app where you can just go and do different like fitness classes and whatnot. And so I used it mainly to go do boxing at this place called Box Fit 808, which is in Pearl City, which is close to where I was staying in Salt Lake City at the time. And I learned a lot about boxing there. It was my first time actually taking boxing classes. That's where I have like my basis of boxing down now. So if you find yourself in Hawaii and you're interested in boxing, then go check out Box Fit 808 as well. And then finally, before I end this video, I just wanted to quickly touch on a little bit of the history of Hawaii. And I am not educated enough to tell you the full details, but I just want to mention that, yes, I went to the Dole Plantation when I was with my mom and my sister, but I wouldn't go again, because now when I really think about it, and when I learn more about the history of Hawaii, the Hawaiians were killed off by the colonizers. They brought diseases to them, and they had their own king. I don't know. They had their own queen. They had their own. They had a whole system going on, a whole royal system going on, and the colonizers came in and seen the potential to grow produce like pineapples and sugarcane and other things in Hawaii, and they came over and did what the colonizers do. And it's very sad because, now in 2022, it's really hard to find a true-blooded Hawaiian, and it makes me very sad to think about that, because Hawaii is such a beautiful and sacred place, and it is such a spiritual place too. You will feel the energy when you're there. Hawaii is a very spiritual place. So I just wanted to mention that. And James Dole is the guy who basically convinced America to buy Hawaii so that he could grow his pineapples there, and I could start that business. And so even though the pineapple is great in Hawaii, the reason that pineapple is even there and that Hawaii is a part of America is because of the sad history. So don't forget that when you go to Hawaii. One more thing I'll mention is that I always wanted to do the Stairway to Heaven. Never got around to doing it. I heard that they might be tearing it down, and I really hope that they don't, because I hope that one day I can still go back and do it. But you know what? Anyways, I'm going to wrap up this video now. So if you have any questions at all about Hawaii or my experiences there, or you have any questions about just travel in general and how to become a digital nomad, comment down below. Please subscribe to my channel. I have a lot more coming for you. I'm going to talk about each and every place that I've been to in order. I'll try my best to do it in order. And if you have anything at all, you want to talk to me, chat with me on my socials, I'm going to link my Instagram and my I'm going to link my Instagram, TikTok, and everything down below. My Instagram and TikTok is mainly focused on fitness. As you might not already know, I do personal training. I am an online personal trainer. So if you want to get started on your fitness goals, then hit me up. And my link is in my bio on Instagram if you want to get started. And I will see you next time. Bye.